What happens inside the fifth dark dimension that no light chosen one can enter? Let me take you somewhere no one dares to speak of. Not because it's fictional, not because it's evil, but because it is truth beyond comfort. The fifth dark dimension is not a place you stumble into. It's not found in books, temples, or even dreams. It's a realm that reveals itself only when everything you believe is shattered. It is not darkness in the way most think of it: evil, malicious, twisted. No, the fifth dark dimension is sacred, sacred in a way that would terrify those who've only danced in the light. It is where the deepest truths of all creation are hidden, not to be kept from us, but because most aren't prepared to hold what they find there. So let's begin with a question nobody asks. Why can't the light chosen ones enter? Isn't light the ultimate force? Isn't love the highest path? The answer is more profound than most can accept. The light chosen ones are masters of expansion, purity, grace. They bring peace, clarity, healing. But their power depends on a certain order of cosmic alignment that requires harmony. The fifth dark dimension doesn't operate on harmony. It operates on chaos, on collapse, on raw, unfiltered frequency. In that realm there are no masks, no spiritual personas, no illusions of control. Only truth, the kind that rips away everything you thought you were.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
To even perceive it requires you to surrender every identity you've built, including the idea that you're good. You must let go of the belief that light is superior, that healing is the goal, that love is always soft. Because in this dimension, love is violent, not in action, but in clarity. It will burn away your attachments, your dreams, your ego. It will show you that what you called growth was often just delay, that what you called healing was just hiding. And this is precisely why light-chosen ones cannot survive there. Their power is built on order. But in the fifth dark, order is a lie. I didn't enter it by choice. No one does. I was broken open. A betrayal so deep it split my soul. A silence so long it became a scream. A grief so bottomless it swallowed my light. And that's when it happened, not in a vision, not in meditation, but in the cracks of my being. I fell through. And what I found wasn't demons. It wasn't torment. It was realness so sharp it cut away everything false. I learned that the fifth dark isn't a place of punishment. It's a place of purification. But it purifies not through peace, but through annihilation. You don't get to keep your coping mechanisms there. You don't get to quote teachers or channel angels. You don't get to hide behind your light. You are stripped, not for cruelty, but for clarity. Inside the fifth dark, time doesn't exist the way we know it. It bends, distorts, collapses. You may live lifetimes in a moment. You may feel yourself reborn without a single breath. But it's not a place you visit. It's a frequency you embody. And once you've touched it, you never see the world the same way again. You see through people instantly. You feel lies before they're spoken. You sense when someone is living their truth or performing their path. You become uncomfortable to be around. Not because you're dark, but because you're undeniable. The spirits who govern this dimension are not guides in the traditional sense. They are not here to comfort you. They are here to dismantle you. They speak in riddles. They shapeshift. They test your every intention. If you hold even a sliver of ego, they will expose it. If you seek power for validation, they will destroy it. But if you come naked, trembling, with nothing left to prove, they will give you something no light guide ever could. The full remembrance of your original frequency before the world touched you. And that is where the true mystery lies. Because the fifth dark doesn't just deconstruct, it reconstructs. But it does so from the ashes of who you were. You don't come back with affirmations. You come back with codes. You speak in frequencies. You move differently. You no longer chase alignment, you command it. You don't manifest like others. You become the field through which reality bends. But this power comes at a cost. You will lose people. You will be misunderstood. You will no longer belong anywhere except to the truth itself. So you begin to live differently. You stop saving others. You stop trying to be relatable. You stop diluting your message so others can swallow it. Instead, you become a mirror so clear it shatters illusions. And that's when the real mission begins. Because the fifth dark didn't just wake you up. It recruited you, not to fight for the light, not to battle darkness, but to bridge them. You now carry a frequency that terrifies the false light and liberates the hidden dark. You walk into rooms and shift the vibration without speaking. You hear the words people don't say. You feel the pain they've numbed. And you don't run from it. You hold it, you transmute it, not because you're a savior, but because you remember what it's like to be asleep in plain sight. And here's the hardest truth. You can't take others with you. You can guide, you can reflect, but the fifth dark must be entered alone. It requires your full death. Death of image. Death of identity. Death of the idea that anyone is coming to save you. And once you cross that threshold, you realize you were never meant to be saved. You were meant to awaken as a sovereign creator inside a collapsing illusion. So let me ask you this, have you ever felt like you don't belong to the world you were born into? Like you're carrying something ancient, powerful, and dangerous in your bones? Something that doesn't fit into lightworker circles or healing retreats. Something that doesn't care about being liked, but demands to be lived. If so, you might be closer to the fifth dark than you realize. And if that call is real, if you felt it in dreams, in moments of unbearable silence, in the split second before sleep, then part 2 will take you deeper. Because in the next chapter, we go beyond entry. We explore what actually happens inside the fifth dark, the initiations, the entities, the soul contracts, and the why behind it all. The soul furnace, what really happens after you enter the fifth dark dimension and meet the keepers of chaos. Once you cross the threshold into the fifth dark dimension, there is no ceremony, no welcoming, no great voice saying, "You have arrived." In fact, it feels like nothing, like pure void. The kind of silence that doesn't just surround you, it consumes you. And in that first moment, you wonder if you've made a mistake. You wonder if you're dead. You wonder if this is it, if everything you believed about purpose, soul, destiny was just wishful thinking. And that's exactly the first test. The fifth dark does not begin with answers. It begins with inertia. Everything you thought you were, everything you clung to for meaning, is stripped away. You are reduced to presence, just awareness, just being. And then the keepers show themselves, not through visual grandeur or angelic fanfare. They appear through feeling, through frequency. They aren't entities with distinct forms. They are forces. archetypal intelligences that move through you, not around you. But you don't see them, you become them, one by one. Each keeper represents a fundamental law of the unseen realms. Not the laws of love and light, but the laws of entropy, collapse, chaos, and reconstruction. And they each ask you one question, not in words, but in vibration. Are you willing to lose everything to become nothing, so you can become everything? The first keeper you meet is the keeper of collapse. It strips your mental constructs, your beliefs about good and evil, about right and wrong, about karma and justice. You are shown visions of your entire path, your identity, your roles, your spiritual accomplishments, and then, one by one, they are burned, not out of punishment, but to reveal the truth beneath them. You see how every label you wore, even the awakened one, was still a mask. You feel the emptiness of seeking applause for your growth. And in that moment, you either resist and suffer or surrender and dissolve. Most never make it past this point. They call it dark night of the soul and turn back. But if you stay, if you let it all burn, the second keeper arrives, the keeper of reflection. This one is merciless. It reflects back every hidden desire, every suppressed rage, every buried shame. Not to shame you, but to show you what you are when nothing is edited. You are forced to face your darkest hunger, your need to dominate, your craving to be seen, your secret belief that you're superior. And here's the twist. The keeper doesn't punish you for these truths. It asks you to own them, to hold them without judgment. Because in the fifth dark, integration is the only salvation. You cannot transcend what you refuse to face. You cannot become powerful while still pretending to be pure. And when you finally stop rejecting these parts, when you welcome your monstrosity as sacred, the third keeper arrives, but the keeper of the furnace. This is the most intense passage, the one where your soul is placed into the core fire of the dimension itself. You feel like you're being unmade at a cellular level. Your thoughts vanish. Your sense of time disintegrates. All that remains is pain, and the knowing that this pain is not harming you, it's reforging you. You are being recoded. Your DNA, your aura, your soul essence, it's all being rewritten to hold more truth. Not more light, not more love, more reality. And this is where many lose their minds. Because you realize that the love you've known before was selective. It loved the beautiful, the light, the healed. But the love in the furnace, it loves everything. The blood, the betrayal, the chaos, the decay. It doesn't fix, it doesn't rescue. It simply holds. And in that holding you begin to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. This is also where the real initiations begin. You're not given power, you are asked to remember it. You are shown moments from other lifetimes where you wielded unfathomable force and were punished for it. You are shown the contracts you made to dim yourself in this life, to play small, to be safe. And then you are given a choice. Do you still want to live by those contracts, or will you break them and become the full spectrum of your essence? This is not metaphorical. In the fifth dark, you feel the weight of those contracts. You feel the fear of what might happen if you break them. You see timelines flash before you, one where you stay small and loved, and one where you become vast and alone. And then you choose. It is in this moment that the final layer of identity dies, not because you let it go, but because it simply no longer fits. You become like the fifth dark itself, uncontainable. You no longer identify as a being walking a path. You become the path itself. You are no longer seeking truth. You are truth moving. And perhaps the most shocking part, there is no reward, no spiritual badge, no divine applause, just silence. But this silence is different. It's not the void. It's sovereignty. And you realize this is what freedom actually feels like. Not bliss, not ecstasy, but radical neutrality. A grounded presence so vast that nothing can shake it. You don't need to prove. You don't need to perform. You don't even need to teach. You just are. And your very being starts to affect reality like a gravitational field. So what happens inside the fifth dark dimension? Everything and nothing. You are destroyed. And you are rebuilt. You meet your demons and realize they were your guardians. You meet your shame and realize it was your compass. You meet your chaos and realize it was never trying to destroy you. It was trying to wake you up. And here's the haunting question. What if everything that ever broke you was just an invitation into this realm? Now that you've seen the furnace, we go even deeper. In part 3, we explore what it means to live in the world after you've walked through the fifth dark. How do you carry this frequency in daily life? What changes? What activates? What dies in your relationships, your work, your body? Walking fire. How the fifth dark dimension rewires your identity, magnetism, and destiny on Earth. After you've walked through the fifth dark dimension, the real journey begins not in the stars, not in the spirit realms, but right here in this world. The one you thought you knew. The one you've tried to fix, escape, heal, or transcend. But now, something is undeniably different, not in the world, but in you. You don't return as the same person. You don't even return as a person. You return as a frequency, a walking fire. You move through space, through people, through timelines, and reality bends not because you try to manifest, but because you are manifestation in motion. At first, it's disorienting. You look in the mirror and you recognize the face, but not the being. Your old habits no longer grip you. Your old desires feel foreign. The things you once chased, validation, recognition, even spiritual success, seem almost comical. You don't care about being seen anymore. You care about seeing, and you see everything. The masks people wear, the lies they tell themselves, the energy behind their words. You can feel someone's frequency before they speak, but you sense their soul's contracts, the patterns looping through their bloodline, the pain they buried so deep they don't even know it exists. And here's the thing, it doesn't overwhelm you anymore. You don't take it on. You don't try to fix it. You simply see it, hold it, and let it dissolve in your presence. Because now you don't do healing work. You are the work. You don't teach truth. You embody it. Your very existence becomes a transmission, and people feel it. They don't know why they're drawn to you, why they open up around you, why they feel both terrified and liberated in your energy. It's because you no longer operate through personality. You operate through pure signal. The signal of someone who has died 1,000 times and come back with nothing left to prove. And this changes everything. Your relationships collapse or deepen. There is no middle ground. The ones who still need your old self will fall away, sometimes violently. They'll say you've changed, that you're cold, distant, difficult, too intense. They'll say you're not who you used to be. And they'll be right. You're not. You can't be. Because you've seen too much. You've touched something they haven't. And the frequency you carry now exposes their illusions just by existing. You don't even have to say a word. Your presence becomes a mirror, and not everyone is ready to look. But the ones who are ready, they'll find you, not through marketing, not through force. They'll feel you. They'll be magnetized to your field, drawn in by something they can't explain. Because this is one of the gifts of the fifth dark, you become a living invitation to truth, not the sugar-coated kind, the kind that burns, and the kind that liberates, the kind that kills what is false and resurrects what is real. And with this magnetism comes responsibility, not to lead, not to save, but to stay embodied. Because the moment you slip back into performance, into trying to be understood or accepted, the fire dims. Not because you lost it, but because you stepped out of alignment with it. This fire demands your full presence. It doesn't care about your comfort. It doesn't care about your audience. It cares about your authenticity, the raw, unfiltered frequency of your soul, moving through your body without censorship. This changes your work in the world. You no longer build businesses. You build fields. You don't pitch. You pulse. You don't hustle. You hold resonance. Opportunities come not because you chase them, but because they align with the current you radiate. Money, relationships, influence, they all shift from pursuit to permission. You no longer ask for them. You hold your frequency, and they respond. Not always immediately, but inevitably. And your body, it changes too. You begin to feel energy moving differently, but you become more sensitive, but not fragile. You feel power surging through your limbs, sometimes so intensely it wakes you at night. Your senses sharpen. Your intuition becomes cellular. You don't get downloads, you are the download. You speak, and truth comes out that you didn't plan. You touch someone, and they cry. You enter a space, and the energy rearranges to accommodate your presence. This is not ego. This is energetic gravity. And it's not rare, it's just unclaimed. The fifth dark didn't give you anything you didn't already have. It removed everything that was stopping it from coming through. And now you carry the code, not just in your words, but in your walk, your silence, your being. But here's the most shocking part. It still feels ordinary, but you still wash dishes. You still forget things. You still get tired. But now, everything is alive. The mundane becomes sacred. The silence becomes symphonic. You don't escape life, you enter it fully. And that's the paradox. You went into the darkest dimension to find the realest light, not the light that blinds, the light that illuminates the dark without erasing it. So here's the question: can you walk through the world as fire without trying to be warm, without trying to be safe, without trying to be liked? Because once you've touched the fifth dark, anything less than full embodiment feels like betrayal, not to others, to yourself. And in part 4, we go to the edge of the mystery. What lies beyond the fifth dark? What happens when your soul becomes so sovereign it no longer fits into human timelines, roles, or even reincarnation itself? Beyond the mirror, what happens when you outgrow the human game entirely and remember the original assignment? After the fifth dark, there is no going back, not just in behavior, but in perception. You no longer see the world through the lens of cause and effect, right and wrong, light and dark. You see through constructs. You see the human game for what it really is: a dream. A necessary dream, a beautiful one at times, but a dream nonetheless. a matrix of experiences designed to catalyze remembrance. And when you've walked the fire of the fifth dark, you remember something that no book, no guru, no ceremony could ever teach you. You were never just human in the first place. You begin to recall a time before birth, not just past lives, but between them. The stillness, the knowing, the assignment. You remember the moment you chose to enter this realm, not to become enlightened, but to ignite forgotten frequencies in a world addicted to illusion. You didn't come here to be fulfilled. You came here to fracture the false, to walk into the densest dreams and leave trails of energetic breadcrumbs for others to follow, not by preaching, but by being. You remember that the soul isn't linear. It doesn't evolve in steps. It expands in spirals. And sometimes, the most advanced souls are the ones who choose the darkest, most chaotic paths, not because they are broken, but because they are that strong. They descend to dismantle. They fall to remember. They suffer not as punishment, but as activation. Every betrayal, every collapse, every exile was a coded key, and now you hold them all. But here's the twist. Once you remember the original assignment, the world becomes lighter. Not because it changes, but because your relationship to it does. You no longer seek outcomes. You no longer chase meaning. You stop trying to save anyone, fix anyone, heal anyone. You realize that everyone is exactly where they need to be, in the dream they chose, learning what their soul came here to remember. And your role to be the presence that reminds them what's possible, not through advice, but through vibration. And this is where something strange begins to happen. Time bends. Manifestation becomes instant, but you think, and it arrives not because you're high vibe, but because you're outside the algorithm entirely. You've exited the karmic loop. You've stopped playing roles. You've remembered that you are the code. And so reality bends around you, not to reward you, but because you're no longer in opposition to it. You're aligned with the source of all things, and the source doesn't manifest through effort. It emanates. You walk with an awareness that your body is temporary, your name is temporary, even this incarnation is temporary, but your essence is eternal. You're not just a soul in a body, you're a portal, a passageway through which the unnameable touches the tangible. And that's why the fifth dark had to break you, not to destroy you, but to clear the static interfering with your signal. And so now, the question is no longer what is my purpose, or how do I stay high frequency? The question becomes far more potent. Can I remain fully present in a collapsing world without forgetting that I am beyond it? Can I grieve, love, rage, break, and still remember that none of it defines me? Can I dance inside the dream without falling asleep again? Because the final secret is this: you came here not to escape the matrix, but to bring your full self into it, to awaken within it. And once you do, you realize that the assignment was never to transcend humanity, it was to divinize it, to walk as source in form, to feel everything fully, to live with your soul exposed, to love without armor, to speak truth that shatters timelines, and then smile quietly as the world begins to remember itself through you. And that is the legacy of the fifth dark. You are no longer a seeker. You are no longer a student. You are the signal, and your presence is the revolution.